So you may have heard the news that the National Association of Realtors just reached a $418 million settlement for a federal lawsuit that started in Illinois back in 2019. Then there are a number of piggyback suits that kind of jumped on board afterwards. But so what is it? What does it mean for home buying and selling here locally? So, the traditional structure is that a seller would pay a real estate agent a commission. That agent then splits that commission with the agent that represents a buyer. Buyers typically do not pay a real estate agent a commission directly. So some of the arguments to this are, why should the seller pay the buyer's agent? They're not representing them. The buyer's argument is, hey, we already have our down payment and closing costs. We don't have enough funds and so forth. So there's a lot of arguments on both sides of this. But so what is the ultimate outcome of this settlement? So it'll take effect in July. It still has to get approved by a federal judge. But there are two main things. One is that compensation for a buyer agent can no longer be published in the multiple listing service. You can still offer compensation, but it cannot be published in the multiple listing service. And then also buyers, if they have an agent representing them, they must have a written buyer agency agreement. Now, our local multiple listing service is not directly governed by the National Association of Realtors, but if they opt into these settlement terms, then it essentially states that they'll be exempt from like kind suits into the future. So we don't know exactly how this will play out here locally yet. It has not been stated what our local multiple listing service will do. We have been very proactive though with our multiple listing service, trying to get ahead of the curve versus much of the country. And that starting January 1st, we already had the requirement of having buyer agency agreements. So any kind of buyer brokerage of services require you to now have a written agreement in place. And then also you're no longer required to offer a buyer agent commission. So you could publish a home in the multiple listing service and offer zero. The counter to that is you'd likely want to incentivize agents to bring as many buyers through as possible to ensure you get the greatest audience, and many buyers will want to have an agent helping them just because buying a home is something you might do a couple times in your lifetime. It's complex. There's a lot of moving pieces. So there's a lot of, we don't need to go into the merits of an agent, but that's kind of just the overlying of what's going on with this settlement. Also kind of funny, the Seattle Times happened to use our for sale sign as their main picture for this news article. I don't know how, they just chose it. So, but yeah, if you have more questions, I know it can be kind of complicated and there's more information to come, but feel free to call, text, or visit us online, happyhometeam.com.